$1.5 billion. Do you think you would be able to survive off $1.5 billion? Well, I hope so. And I hope the folks at Freshly are able to do the same, because that is the deal that is on the table and seems to be inked and in the works. Nestle just acquired Freshly, one of the largest meal prep companies in the entire country, if not the largest. I don't know. Was just acquired by the largest food manufacturing and distributing company in the entire country. Pretty amazing. It's a brand new deal. It just happened, I think, like 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to cover that as well as my thoughts on it and where I see this industry going because of this kind of a deal happening. But before we get into that, I want to make sure that you've subscribed and you've got those alert notifications on. My name is Casey, and on my channel, I discuss starting and growing meal prep companies, as well as starting businesses, business tips and tricks, startup hacks, entrepreneur mindset, and so much more based on my experience starting and growing Florida's highest rated meal prep company from nothing. No experience, no funding, and no connections. If you're interested in learning more about marketing, software, production, leadership, and so much more, I invite you again to subscribe and turn on those alert notifications so you don't miss out on any of my content. I produce videos weekly. I go live sporadically, and I don't want you to miss out on any of it. I also don't want you to miss out on the links in the show notes. The links in the show notes have so much more free content and resources that you're going to find very useful to make your life so much easier. You cannot pass those up. You're also going to want to pop by mealprepbiz101.com. That's my website. Again, even more free resources, a bunch of other content, stuff that I just can't offer here on YouTube, and I want you to check it out. What kind of stuff do I have in store for you? Well, I've got a free ebook. I've got free boot camps. I've got free tutorials. I've got private groups. I've got one-on-one consulting. And probably the best thing is free software that will run your entire business. So if that seems interesting, again, check out the links below and check out mealprepbiz101.com. Now that we have that out of the way, I want to jump into today's episode so we can start dissecting this deal and figuring out what it means for you if you're looking to get into the meal prep business or if you're already in it. Welcome to our channel where we go behind the scenes for meal plan company Fit Food Fresh and other local businesses across South Florida. Make sure you hit the subscribe and alerts so you never miss a video, and hit us with any questions or suggestions. All right, so this article is on the Nestle website, but I've actually found it on a bunch of other websites, and it basically covers a lot of the same facts. So wherever you go, all you have to do is Google Nestle and Freshly, and you will find this bad boy, but I'll cover it for you so you don't have to. Nestle USA acquires Freshly, a pioneer in healthy prepared meals. Nestle announced today that it acquired Freshly, one of the leading fresh prepared meal delivery services in the US. The deal values Freshly at $950 million, with potential earnouts up to $550 million, contingent upon successful growth of the business. This transaction was signed and closed October 30th, 2020. So this is a very fresh deal, pun intended. And if you do that quick math, 950 plus 550, that gets you to $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion. Billion with a B, billion with doors that go like this, not like this. Inside joke. A few of you will get it. The move brings together Nestle's deep understanding of what and how people eat at home and world-class research and development capabilities with Freshly's highly specialized consumer analytics platform and distribution network to fuel growth opportunities within the Freshly business and across Nestle's portfolio. Just imagine these two giants now pulling their resources together and being able to just expedite the process of getting meal preps out there to everybody. I don't want you to be concerned. I don't want you to think that this means you won't be able to compete with Freshly. I assure you, you will be able to compete with Freshly. If you don't think so, just think about this. What's probably the most common restaurant in the entire country? McDonald's. There's a McDonald's on every corner. Does that mean that you can't open a restaurant? No. Because there's different strokes for different folks. You can have a different angle that Freshly isn't doing. Freshly has a limited menu. They have limited service. A lot of these big companies, and I'm going to actually get into this in another episode, a lot of these big companies actually fail in a lot of ways just because scaling customer service and quality becomes very difficult. while they are very good at what they do, Freshly is very good at what they do, they're not the best. And even if they were the best, there's still room for everybody to do it different ways. There's no one for anything. You got Taco Bell, you got Ruth's Chris, you've got the sushi place down the street that I've never heard of, and they're all good at what they do. They can all coexist because at the end of the day, everybody eats. No one's going to have a monopoly on the mouth, all right? So don't worry. All this does, in my opinion, is it validates the business model. Now your friends and family who have been thinking that you're crazy for starting this crazy meal prep business instead of a traditional business, or instead of sticking to your day job or going back to school, now you can tell them to shut up, because Freshly just brought home 1.5 Bs, and that's a lot of reasons for them to now get behind you and support you if you had any haters. We are excited to welcome Freshly to the Nestle family, said Nestle US CEO and Chairman Steve Presley. Consumers are embracing e-commerce and eating at home like never before. 2020, that's all I gotta say, 2020. We all know what has happened in 2020. Think about Uber Eats and Grubhub and all these explosions, right? Everyone's eating at home now. This is the new norm. Again, this substantiates this model. What do you think restaurants are doing right now? Because at the end of the day, if there's more shutdowns, it's only going to be worse for them. And as things are, it's pretty hard to argue with a business model where, in theory, you don't have to purchase any of your goods until you've already collected the money for those orders. That's the reason I love the meal prep business. Now, to continue what Presley was saying, it's an evolution brought on by the pandemic, but taking hold for the long term. Freshly is an innovative, fast-growing food tech startup, and adding them to the portfolio accelerates our ability to capitalize on the new realities in the U.S. food market and further positions Nestle to win in the future. It's not going anywhere, folks. I've got friends who have restaurants, and they are very concerned right now. I've got a lot of friends with meal prep companies, and their concern is, how much faster can I grow this thing? They're not worried about shutdowns, because that only increases the need for meal prep services. At the end of the day, people are always going to need to eat. If you're able to supply that to them in a convenient way, in a safe way, you have the staying power to make this a long-term business plan. I assure you, meal prep businesses are not going anywhere. If you don't see that, I don't know what to tell you. As the largest food and beverage company in the US, Nestle is committed to driving the evolution of the food industry through innovation across all aspects of its business, be it through in-house capabilities or strategic acquisitions. And this is one of those strategic acquisitions. This puts them in a beautiful position. And if you think this is the end of the acquisitions, you are going to be mistaken, because now through Freshly, I assure you, Nestle is going to be buying up other meal prep companies. Is yours going to be one of them? Maybe so. Nestle purchased an approximately 16% stake in Freshly in 2017 as a strategic move to evaluate and test the burgeoning market. Freshly pioneered the direct-to-consumer prepared meal delivery channel and is known for its use of standard-setting technology and analytics, which will build upon Nestle's strong base of innovation. Growing year over year since launching in 2015, Freshly is now shipping more than 1 million meals per week to customers in 48 states. Its 2020 forecasted sales are $430 million. That's not chump change, folks. Now, quick math tells you that they got about a 3x valuation, arguably easily a 2x valuation, right? So what I'm doing there is 2x times rev gets the purchasing price. Now, that's really simple arithmetic. In reality, evaluating a company is a lot more complex than that. There's intellectual property, there's brand value, there's all this other stuff that goes into figuring out how much a company is worth. But when you go to raise capital, which is going to be a lot easier now that this deal has taken place, because a lot of people are going to be looking at Nestle as a pretty smart company. And the fact that Nestle is putting their dollars into Freshly is going to make it a lot easier for you to raise funds, whether it's a seed fund around A, B, C, whatever. And I go into that in other videos. I assure you, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get business loans and raise capital if you're in the meal prep business. We are extremely excited to expand our relationship with Nestle, said Freshly CEO Michael Weistrach. Our mission is to make eating healthy easy by bringing nutritious, high-quality meals directly to consumers' homes. Convenience and nutrition are driving forces in the future of food, and our becoming a part of the world's largest food company confirms that. Now, how old do you think Freshly is? for $1.5 billion acquisition. How long you think they've been at it? How long you think they've been around? Well, there's actually two answers that I've found. In this article and in other articles, I've seen that they started in 2015. Their Wikipedia happens to say that they started in 2012. Since Nestle's got this article on their website and they're the one purchasing them for $1.5 billion, I'm going to let Nestle tell me that they were started in 2015, even though it breaks my heart because Fit Food Fresh, my company, was started in 2014 and no one's offered us $1.5 billion yet. Now, just to go back to speaking about valuations can be done many different ways, and there's certain acceptable ways to do it in each industry. There's a lot of things to be considered, the potential growth, and there's a lot to get into, so I won't even start listing that off. But what I will tell you is, since there are a bunch of different ways to do a valuation, it could get pretty confusing. One very easy way, arguably a pretty easy way, is by a comp or a comparable. Just like buying or selling a house, you go for appraisals sometimes based on similar houses in that area and what they've historically sold for in the past. Now, if you're looking at your meal prep company and you're looking to raise capital or potentially sell it, this is a great case for you to use and make an argument on what your valuation would be. You can do some really simple math and take the, expected revenue that you have for this year. Like with Nestle, it's $430 million. And you can do a similar multiplier where it's 2 or 3x what your revenue is. You also have to consider any debts that you're holding and any kind of liabilities and things like that. Or you can figure out what Nestle's profit is, and you can do a multiple based on that. Now, this is going to give you a rough number. Is it factual? Not really, but again, valuating a company is very difficult. It's not like there's a blue book for companies like there would be when you're purchasing a car. With a car blue book, you're able to figure out based on the mileage, the condition, the year, the make, the model, the options that you have. You get a pretty good idea as to what the fair market value is because it's a pretty common item to find out there. It's very comparable to the thousands and thousands of other cars that are produced like that. Businesses are very unique. A restaurant or a meal prep company in Florida versus a restaurant or meal prep company in Austin or New York. There's a bunch of different variables based on what it costs to have rent by the square footage, what you're able to charge for your meals, what you have to pay people, what the going rate is based on the minimum wage and what the skilled labor costs, and seasonality. In Florida, we've got 2 slow seasons. We've got the holidays and we've got summer. So that might impact an argument for evaluation on the company. Whereas if there's a year-round demand on your product, or reasonably year-round, holidays are always going to slow everybody down because people are just out of town, you're able to probably argue a bit more because you won't have those lulls in your season like Florida does. So there is a lot to be considered, but at the end of the day, valuations come down to what justifiable arguments can be made. And a lot of times the person selling wants a high price, the person buying wants a low price, and hopefully you're able to find something in between. I can only imagine what Freshly started out at. Maybe they're evaluating themselves at $2 or $3 billion, and Nestle kind of sweetened the deal with that kicker that adds another $550 to their $950. I don't know. I would love to hear the details. I'm always fascinated by purchases and acquisitions and mergers and how to figure out how everybody got to the end numbers that they ended up signing on. But it looks like Freshly's happy with the deal. It looks like Nestle's very happy with the deal. And the major takeaway is you should be happy with the deal because this is going to help solidify any argument you have for your business and getting any kind of capital in the future, as well as getting people to buy into what you're doing. When you're looking to hire somebody, a lot of times people are going to be concerned with the job outlook. Is your company going to stay around? Is your concept something that's going to last? This shows that a lot of people are behind this brand. This shows that a lot of people are behind this industry and this business model. So I think your employees, your future employees, this is something that you're going to want to share with them because they definitely want to feel more confident and secure that they're investing their time, not just for a paycheck, but in a business that is going to be around and continue to give them paychecks, but also something that they can be a part of that's going to grow and be sustainable. If you're watching this and you're on the fence about the meal prep industry, hopefully this helps you get on one side or the other and either jump into it, or if you've got a better opportunity and you don't think $1.5 billion is worth your attention, then so be it. Some of you may be familiar with Blue Apron. Blue Apron had a valuation of $2 billion, and that really rocked a lot of industries and got a lot of attention on the meal kit industry. A lot of people who are from the outside of our industry don't really understand the difference between meal prep and meal kit. Meal prep is normally indicative of the food's already cooked, you just have to reheat it. Whereas meal kit is when they send you ingredients and a recipe and you've got to do the work yourself. Right now, Blue Apron's at about $57 million. So they've been chopped down by 75%. They're 1/4 of what their valuation was in 2015. Quite a substantial tumble. Why do I think that is? Well, sad to say it, the meal kit industry just isn't anywhere near as convenient as the meal prep industry. And I know I've been talking to some meal kit enthusiasts, some business owners who are starting a meal kit business. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but you should consider the fact that it's not as convenient as meal prep. Now, if you have a niche, like I was recently talking to Ibrahim, Ibrahim has a meal kit concept that he's doing in Canada, and it is on a specific dietary preference. If you have a specific niche, there's obviously going to be a lot more probably wiggle room where you can eke out a pretty sustainable existence. But for most people who don't have a lot of time, unless the process of shopping is painful enough for them, they're not going to use a meal kit service for the long haul, and they're not going to use it continuously for a lot of their meals. However, as I mentioned, if you cater to certain dietary preferences or religious dietary restrictions, then it may be a much more promising business model, because it's a pain to have to shop and source these special products that are either vegan or FODMAP or paleo or keto or halal or kosher. You'll probably be able to find a much more sustainable customer base who isn't going to be as likely to leave your service once they get used to the convenience of you providing that food for them. However, I would always strongly suggest you think about some way to up the convenience, because you guys have heard me say this in many videos. I've said it in the private groups. I've said it in the one-on-one consulting. At the end of the day, you sell convenience. It's even mentioned in this article. It's nutrition and convenience that they're recognizing as their value proposition. And in my opinion, convenience is the most important thing. People don't have the time. They don't want to spend the time spending a half hour, 45 minutes, making a mess, cooking, cleaning up after themselves, unless it's very painful for them to be eating through other sources. People are always able to go down the street and buy a rotisserie chicken or chicken parmesan. But if you're able to make it cater to a dietary preference that is hard for them to find a suitable alternative to, or if you're able to make it more convenient than those other options of going down the street and buying it somewhere else, then you do have a market that you can capture and turn into a profitable revenue generating business model. I've got another video I'm working on in which I discuss why the seemingly large businesses who are in the meal prep industry and in the meal kit industry tend to sometimes fail seemingly overnight. They go from being on top of the world, seeming like they're doing everything right, to all of a sudden gone. And I discuss some of the reasons that I know of why some have failed, as well as some reasons that I think others have failed. And I think it's something that's useful to know, even though you're not at that level yet. You're going to want to have these things in the front of your mind as you grow and as you scale your service, so you don't follow their trend. If that seems like a video you'd be interested in, again, subscribe and turn on those alert notifications so you don't miss it. If you haven't done so already, check out the links below. Check out mealprepbiz101.com. And I hope you catch my next episodes. But until then, my name is Casey. I appreciate your time and attention, because I know that is super valuable. And I look forward to helping you grow as a business, as an entrepreneur, and as an individual.